of restoration and all the different things that surround my belief in God. There are times where, you know, we could have been on the same scrap heap of divorce. I used to say that because bro, it's a scrap heap out here, man. It's tough. Bro, as a comedian, I've emceed weddings that are over. I've seen it from beginning to end. It hits me every time I think about it. Like, I emceed that wedding. I remember that day. I remember the dancing and the jollof rice. And now look, they're divorced. So I look at it, I'm like, it could. I used to think that because I came from a house of divorce, that I wouldn't let myself get there. I think it's a strong motivator, but it's not enough. It's not enough for me to will within myself that, oh, I'm never going to get divorced. Because I've definitely got to that point where I'm like, this needs to end now. This is done. And you can't see any hope. You can't see anything that gives you that glimmer of hope that this marriage is going to get better. I've been there. So I'm saying, like, I can't negate how much God has kept me in that process of, first of all, believing that it's possible to continue. One of my biggest challenges I had to overcome before I got married was I really started to fear and worry that it wasn't even possible for me as a comedian to sustain a marriage. One of the reasons why I say that, well, the main reason I say that, is because my now wife and I had broken up based on the fact that I was in America at the time. And we had a conversation about what would happen if my career took off, right? So that if there were opportunities for me in America. And I was like, well, we would have to break up because I don't like doing long distance. I'm definitely not doing long distance. And I'm not moving any girlfriend with me. That's way too much pressure on the relationship. If you are my wife, then fine. But then I started to think to myself, like, you know, I wasn't so sure that, like, oh, I can get married right now. Like, I've always been marriage-minded, but now all of a sudden I started having to investigate why. So I looked a little deeper, and a lot of the comedians around me were going through divorces. Most of the comedians on the circuit were in their 40s. And they all seem to be getting divorced at this point. And then the last straw for me was finding out that Chris Rock was getting divorced. And I was like, Chris Rock's getting divorced? Come on, man. He's one of the greatest comedians of all time. He's getting divorced? I ain't got no shot at a successful marriage. You married to Chris Rock and you want to leave him? Nah, man, my jokes can't cut it. And that's part of what I was saying before about how you look at somebody who's got some level of success and you kind of assume they must be good. I don't know why I thought that Chris Rock must be a great husband and a great marriage, but it's because I was admiring him as a comedian. So what I now began to take away from that whole process was that, like, as a comedian, just something about the lifestyle, the outlook on life, blah, 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 it's just not going to work out for me. Now, luckily, I had good men around me, and one of them especially is my barber. It was Christian, he's married, and talked me through, while he was cutting my hair, he talked me through so many of the fears and conversations that I had, and really gave me that hope and encouragement that I needed. And that was what was able to change the way I started looking at the marriage. So now by the time I get married, I'm like, I've now had enough of those good conversations with married men, you know, not just him, my pastor and other men that I look up to the point where I'm like, I've had an uncle tell me about when he cheated on his wife and the process of restoring their marriage after that. And I've seen him with, that's uncle and auntie, like they look like they got it all together. I didn't know what they've been through previously in their marriage. And when you hear him humbly talk about how he made mistakes, not mistakes, but how he did wrong, and how he had to reckon with himself, what he had to do to rebuild his marriage, the steps that he takes now to make sure that this never happens again. I was like, okay, I'm not trying to go down his route, but what it does do is it gives me hope And it does show me that there is a way to resolve even the most heinous of problems. You know, the Bible only gives justification for divorce in one case, and that's adultery.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that you have to get divorced, but it says that you're perfectly within your rights to do so. So the fact that a marriage can survive adultery was like, whoa, okay then. So if, you know, my wife is overspending on the budget, we can work it out in the grand scheme of things. And I think understanding that when you marry somebody and you work through problems with them, the real strength is not in your ability to leave anymore. That's what happens in relationships. That's where your power comes from. Your power in a relationship is that I can walk out tomorrow, today, right now. So you better act up. You better not act up. Sorry, you better behave yourself, because I can go now if you try and act up. The power in marriage. If you try and play relationship games in marriage is never going to get there. The power in marriage is unconditional love. That's when you start to say, if you mess up, so far as you still want this marriage to work, and I want it to work, we'll make it work. It's not gonna be easy. I'm not saying that just because I want to stay married to you, it's just gonna laugh it off. It's gonna be painful, but I'm gonna love you through your worst times, and for better and for worse. That's where the power in marriage comes from.
That part is so,
you know what I'm saying? When you really deep, but you know what that does? That frees up for the deepest intimacy. Can you imagine somebody loving you at your worst? Can you imagine, the most embarrassing, right after you finish the porn video, you just finished bashing, the screen has gone black, you can see your own reflection, you're looking at yourself and you're going, I am a scumbag. I can't believe I just watched this video. And your wife walks in and sees you, and the tissue, and it just looks depressing. And she's just like, what the heck is this? And she still decides to love you in that moment.
Oh, do
you know how, when we talk about the vulnerability, when we talk about taking down the walls, when we talk about being able to build intimacy with each other, that's what the power is all about in marriage. It's about removing the option to go. So we have to work things out. I show you that before you've done it, I'm committed to you. Before you've even done it, like I'm saying, I'm putting 50 years on this. Now, obviously, we've got situations in which you need to go. Person trying to kill you, get out of the marriage.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? The person's chopping your neck. You need to go literally to survive, like to still be alive. You know, till death do us part. That person's trying to end the marriage, basically, if they're trying to kill you. Right? So far as you guys are having spats that can be resolved and forgiveness is an option, and, you know, you have the option to still both be alive and move past this, picking that option is the source of your power and the source of the power of marriage. Because there's no one else, everyone else is monitoring you on a day-to-day basis. If you are no longer performing, your workplace can get rid of you. If you are no longer delivering content that people want, people can unsubscribe. But imagine if somebody said, I want to put in a lifetime subscription to your channel before you've even dropped a video.
People say that's a bit mad, but no content, but that's the commitment of marriage. That
exactly. The commitment of marriage is saying, I want to set up the direct debit to pay you for the content for the rest of your life before you've even dropped a video. Imagine how free you feel. Imagine how free you feel if I said to you, I've set up a direct debit in my bank. They're going to pay you £50 a month as a subscription to your content, right? It's already paid for. It's done. Now, when you're making your content, what you're actually going to do is bring up more of the real and authentic you. If you're trying to do it for profit incentive, you might start changing what you say. If I say, if let's say I'm a smoker and you want to do a really important podcast about the effects of smoking, You might be like, oh, but that guy pays me £50, might stop paying me if I do something about smoking. But imagine if that pressure's not there anymore. Whatever you want to do, say it, do it. The freedom and the truth, the space to be your authentic self is more powerful than anything else. And that's why I really believe that, like, when you get into a marriage and you offer somebody unconditional love, somebody that you've obviously trusted, vetted, you've taken time to get to know them, and you've decided to prayerfully move forward into life with them, you are opening up their creativity, you're opening up their opportunities to heal, you're opening up the opportunity for them to become the best version of themselves, because now they never have to compete again for someone's love. It's already offered to them. That is fantastic.
And I think that's what you touched on is so important. And I'm thinking, like, maybe that's why sometimes, like, a relationship, if something does you wrong, you can bounce. If someone's, if you're saying to this girl, or if as a girl you're saying to this man, listen, you need to fix up in this area, and they're not taking heed, okay, I'm gone. But with marriage now, it's like someone has, like, barricaded the door a bit. So you guys have to stay here and work this out. Rather than, so
yeah,
I can't say, like, why most marriages fail, but sometimes, we often hear, maybe because of finances. I don't really hear much about because of mental health issues. But even, I mean, there might be some cases, there might be in some respects, but even when you just think of it, like, okay,
mental health runs through all of these, by the way. Mental health runs through all of those topics. Mental health runs through sex, runs through finances, it runs through intervening family members, it runs through infidelity, all of these issues that we put at the forefront. We say, oh, I divorced him because he cheated. But in that cheating, there's 12 different mental health issues that you may not even diagnose properly or consider. But mental health runs through all of them.
Because the reason he cheated must be, well, not must be, there's a reason. There's probably a reason that probably stems back to his mental state. He cheated because, you know what, this wife, I don't know, for whatever reason. That is, you just think, okay, like, he done this and that. And, like, it's just so, like I said before, it feels like we hate each other, but sometimes at the same time, like, one thing I do kind of always kind of think, not because of Twitter or anything like that, it's like, because before my granddad passed, my granddad and my grandma were married for like 60 years. And I always say, like, and the reason why I mentioned my granddad and my grandma is because my parents, before they passed, they split up time ago. So I didn't look at them as two people who I can kind of have, as inspiration. Don't get me wrong, they're good people individually, but together it just didn't work. And that is what it is. It happens, innit? Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, like, I think from that, I always said to myself, I want to get married because I want to have what I didn't see from my parents. I want to get married because I want to somewhat replicate what my granddad and my grandma had, even though that's wholly different generation. We're talking years. So I don't even, and I just think, like, right, can I have that in my generation? Like, can have that kind of, like, 60 years deep, and I'm thinking that sometimes I feel like there's no hope. Like, is it even possible in this day and age? Because, like, everyone's different. Everyone's, like, I don't know what it, like, we're just different, and there's too much egos. Like, I don't know. It's like no one's, if you're not meeting this requirement, that's it, chop and change. They don't. Rather than, I'm not, okay, you have your red flags and deal breakers, don't get me wrong, but sometimes there's no, no, you know what, maybe, okay, let me just give that a bit of time. No, sorry, no, you don't meet the cut. That's it, I'm gone. Like, I deserve better. No mental accountability, nothing, just vibes. Yeah, I'm 6 figures, I'm good. Yep, I'm good to go. No, but you said
killing my people, bro. Killing my people, bro.
Good vibes. Yeah, I'm a good person. I like to have fun, but mentally, I have some issues where, like, I don't really trust. I don't know how to be vulnerable. I don't want to be vulnerable because that girl hurt me time ago. I don't want to do it. That boy hurt me time ago. No, I don't want to open up. I'm 30.
How do you?
I'm
All
30,
right.
yeah.
Where's your
Huh?
Where's your wife? I'm not gonna stick
wait,
to you.
me?
I'm not gonna
Whoa,
come on
whoa.
your podcast
No, listen.
like I did.
It's a free and safe
But,
space. You can ask what you want. Say that again.
but I was just saying that, like, I know when I went on Free Shots, I kind of stuck it on those guys a bit, but in this situation, I wanna basically say something to you from a genuine place.
Yeah.
And I think, a big part of this is going to come from the fact that a lot of us as men aren't where we need to be in order for some of these aspects to change. Our society, our generation needs men to lead, right? Now, what does that leadership look like? When you lead, you take the decisions, you take responsibility, you set out the plan ahead of time. Now, these things are best suited. The reason why I call them men to lead is because it suits our worldview, in the sense that in the masculine, when we are being logical and we are weighing up real terms against each other, the real costs, the real benefits, and so on, we're able to become effectively decisive. Now, the beauty of a woman is in her ability to feel. Now, feelings are important, but they are not leaders. Feelings are a feedback mechanism, right? Feelings are the response part of the interaction. So if I punched the wall, that was my decision. My hand hurting and feeling the pain is the response. I can't make decisions based on feelings. Feelings happen after I've made a decision, right? So when we're talking about trying to get married in this generation, the reason why previous generations made it work is that the feeling tried to let were not the. You cannot go on feelings. You can't sustain a marriage on feelings. You have to sustain it on commitment. When you are talking to me about, like, how do you manage to, like, turn it into a 7-year marriage, 10-year marriage, blah, blah, it starts, first of all, by deciding that I am committed to you. That is decision making. And that's the reason why men are required to go and propose to a woman, is to say, I would like to propose a lifetime commitment to you. I've made a decision. I've used my masculine brain. And she responds, right? If you go based on feelings, you'll get married and divorced 6 times in one day, if they could make it that quick and easy for you. I feel up, let's get married. I feel like I can't stand you, get out of my life. We would be up and down all over the place. And so this is why, when we're talking about can we make it in this generation, the main thing is going to be from when you decide as a man, as a 30-year-old man, that I'm going to lead with strong decision making. If you sit down with a woman and tell her, I want to marry you, you're already closer to yes than anything else in your life. Why? Because she's seeking someone to respond to. So the day you now sit down with her and you're married, you say, do you know what? One of the main decisions and proposals I'm putting towards you is we do not get divorced. We work things out. She's going to respond to that, because what does that do? That opens up her need for security. She knows that you're not trying to go anywhere. You're trying to be committed to her. But if you just tell her, I love you, you're beautiful, you've got a big bum, she'll worry about the day that maybe a girl with a bigger bum comes along. What if you fall out of love with me? What if the next day you don't see me the same way? You don't vibe with me the same way?
The foundation's weak.
It's never. The foundation is weak. Whereas if you start with "I am committed to you," it's not the most romantic thing, but I think because we've consistently allowed women to lead in this setup, we've walked ourselves into trouble. Women have walked themselves into a position where they're not happy with what they're seeing in men. They're seeing overly emotional and feminized men who don't seem decisive, don't seem like they have a plan, but at the same time still want to be submitted to. But at the same time, men have walked into situations and taken on this idea of feeling it out. So they're kind of going, do you know what? I don't feel like getting married right now. I don't feel like I'm ready to commit. They're not making decisions. They're not taking decisive action. So for you as a brother, I'm going to ask you, if you want to be married, you do understand that for you, it's like, you don't have the same problems women have, in the sense that you have to wait for somebody to like you and want to marry you, blah, blah, blah. You decide. You can decide tomorrow that I'm not wasting time anymore. I'm dating with the purpose of marriage. I met this girl. I want to marry you. This is what I am doing about it. This is the plan. This is what I want you to get behind me on. This is how I want us to work together. This is how I would like to lead you. Would you like to jump on my plan? Would you like to follow my leadership? You come with that decisive action and see how she responds. She may antagonize a bit. There's still a lot of issues. It's not saying that everybody's perfect. Everybody just moves smoothly. She may antagonize. She might be like, why should I follow you? Blah, blah, blah. I want to change the plan. Blah, 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 blah. I want to do... All of that is by the by. At the very root of it, as men, if we're ever going to get that marriage we're talking about, and you're thinking, is it even possible? It is possible. When you start deciding it's possible. When you start deciding that, look, as long as I live, even if another girl comes by here with the biggest bum, I'm not changing my mind. If you leave it open that, like, this is the buffest girl I've ever seen, you will see another girl and you'll be like, my goodness, but I haven't seen this one at this point. Maybe I should have held my mouth for 5 more minutes. Maybe I would have seen this one. But if you say, you know what? I don't even care if there's a finer girl. I don't care if there's a girl that, has this or does this or blah, blah, blah. It's you. And once I've decided on you, that's my word is my bond. That is it. It's finished. Now you start to uncover all sorts. Now you really start to give a woman security. She starts to open up. She starts to give you the best of her. Because why? Because you've given her the assurance that there's nothing she can do that's going to now all of a sudden remove her from your good graces. And if she's a good-natured woman and she's not taking you for granted, essentially, if she wants her marriage to work well, she's going to now do what is necessary to say, look, you are the guy. If you go and try and get a woman based on how much money you got, a real money man will walk into the building and your girl will jump. She will fusoke. She will absolutely run across the room to go and meet him. And you'll be like, what happened? You don't realize that you spent all this time trying to use money to get her. Whereas if she's decided that regardless, this is my man, this is my man, that comes from after you've decided that you are my girl. She responds with commitment. And once she is committed, and your commitment is the most important thing to both of you, that regardless of what happens, regardless of new opportunities, new this, new that, I've chosen you, is me and you to the end, then you can have the 60-year marriage. You can change your generation. You can show your children, what a healthy family setup looks like. I'm currently building it as I speak. I'm not saying this from a position of I've been married 60 years. I'm saying it as a child of divorce who has currently had a longer marriage than my mother and father. I noted the moment in my head that my marriage extended beyond where my parents got to. And I said, this has to be a turning point in my generation. We cannot repeat the stories of old, and what I will pass to my children has to be a different story. They have to do something different. We can't keep repeating this. once you make that decision, I'm telling you, when men make decisions, crazy things happen. And because we spend a lot of time pretending like men don't really mean much, or men are interchangeable with women, or, you know, we're just essentially the same being, and blah, 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 we have completely undervalued how much we need men to become decisive in this world. I can't stress this to you enough, bro. You can bumble through the rest of your life, and yes, it won't look like there's much consequence on you, because you can get, there's sex is freely available. You can make money, pay your bills, and, you know, there's always a surplus of women for you as a man. And so you can kind of middle your way through everything. But I can also tell you that the day that you, as a man, decide to start making decisions and commit, when a man decides, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to go 3 times a week and I'm going to commit, you see how his body transforms. When a man decides, I'm going to make something that can fly, we get to the point now where men and women alike can just say, yeah, I'm off to Dubai, and be there in 7 hours. That's because somebody decided. Somebody decided we're going to space. Somebody decided that, you know what, in order for a man to get from London to Paris, I want them to be able to fly there. I want them to be able to drive there. I want them to be able to drive underground and drive onto a ferry and sail there. I want them to be able to take a train there. And every time that decision was made, they committed the resources, plans were put in place, people followed those plans. Now we see the benefits of it. Can you imagine if a man was sitting around going, I just feel like I should be able to get to Paris. I feel like I should be able to do it. That's how men are treating marriage these days.
You have to be decisive.
And so they'll start walking, maybe. Yeah, they'll start walking, maybe, and then they get tired and be like, oh, this going to Paris thing is long. I'm not doing that. Certain men are swimming the channel, you know. They can't do that based on feelings. They have to commit. They have to decide and commit. So that's why, you know, I'm not really here to stick it on you like that. But
no, listen, I don't even see it at that one. I just see it as me just learning from someone, or having the privilege of just taking in the wisdom. It's not even, trust me, it's far from me thinking I have no defensive mechanism. Trust me, bro. It's not even that at all, because it's just so key. Like, and obviously everyone's going to be different, but even just to round up briefly, even what you said about commitment, whether that's with mostly with a relationship or marriage or anything else, commitment is not gonna, it's like this. Like, let's take the gym example briefly, as you mentioned. Yeah, some days you're not gonna feel like it. Some days you don't have no motivation. Some days you have all the motivation, you go, but it's like you've made this commitment. You go, it's raining. Oh, I feel like staying in. It's raining. I don't even want to go because it's wet. You made the commitment. Your wife's nagging you. You know what? This has been the 4th week she's been nagging me. You know, I'm out. I'm packing my bag. I'm booking the Airbnb. I'm going. She'd be like, no, she's nagging me, but I made a commitment. It's that commitment, and it's not romantic. Commitment is not romantic. It's not romantic. And again, they're gonna be good. There's gonna be bad days, but commitment is not romantic. You have to be like, I've made a commitment. That's it. If I'm gonna swim to Dover or wherever I'm gonna swim to, I've made a commitment. I have to go there. So and trust me, that's why I wanted to have you on.
And cultivating that as a discipline of saying, oh, my word is my bond, and following through on it. Do you know what happens? All the stuff that the feelings and stuff, it follows. You know, after you remember when I said to you that intimacy is sleeping next to somebody naked every night, knowing that they could murder you in your sleep, but they haven't done it. I'm saying that as you make the commitment, romance comes. Because you're going to look at this woman who is giving birth to your child, and you're going to be like, I just want to love on you. I want to show you that you are worth so much to me. I can't believe you're going through this to give birth to our child. I just want to pour out love on you. I want to give to you. I want to do out of the abundance of your heart. All that romance stuff will come. But we like to fake it first. We like to, first date, you're going to candlelight dinner. Well, that doesn't make any sense. What does that mean? You can take 12 girls to the candlelight dinner. They can know you in the restaurant that, oh, this one always brings fine babes here. It doesn't mean anything. But you know, when a man is committed to a woman, a woman's committed to a man, and he decides to make a meal for her and lights the candles, he's trying to say, this romance, I want to show you you're worth the extra effort, because here we are, committed, having been through no money, mad landlord, problems at work, stress in our marriage, blah, 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 kids driving us up the wall. But you are still what it's about. That's the real romance. All the fake manufactured stuff, bro, it falls away. Bro, one day you see, it should be well watching Michael B. Jordan do the most for Laurie Harvey right now. And we're watching that going, oh my goodness, God, when? You know what I'm saying? Blah, blah, blah. So next
God,
year, you
God,
can
it's
see
me again.
It's me.
God, it's me again.
We'll be back like,
God, it's me again. No, it's true, and that's the thing. Like, there's been so much stuff, and I feel like, you've kind of just put it in a way that, yes, I'm not telling people what to do, but this is just my take on it, and